Yeah.
Okay, guys, here we go. Eagles, this is Flying High with the Birds, Philadelphia Eagles talk. I am the Godfather, and with me is the Armenian Hammer, Vahe. How are you?
Well, not too good, but hi everybody.
And Will Seal the Deal Sealy.
What's
How you
going on,
doing, Will?
guys? How's
Will's had a
everybody doing?
long week. It's
Yeah,
been
it's
a
fine.
long week for Will.
No problem.
Yeah, no, he's all good. The podcast chaplain should be joining us shortly, but let's get right into this. The Eagles lose 33-13 to the Dallas Cowboys. Everybody knows that's 2 games in a row that they lost by more than 20 points. Listen, the only thing I'm going to say before we get started is I know they're 10-3, and I was complaining about this team when they were 10-1, but they're 10-3. They still have a chance to be the number 1 seed in the entire NFC. And the fact that they lost 2 games, everybody's saying it's okay out of this murderer's row part of the schedule. It's the way that they lost these 2 games and getting spanked at the way they did. And not only getting spanked, but getting totally outcoached. I have a lot of things to say, and I like to say it. I don't want to say everything at all at once, so I'll let you guys start off and give me your feelings.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, the way they lost, it's not just, you're right, tough schedule, but the way they lost and the body language. For me, the most important part was the body language, as if they're just going through the motions. And that's not really good. I mean, you can see A.J. Brown is not really doing his best. You see, Hurts is just frustrated or whatever, right? So the whole body language is not really, really very, very good. And that's what worries me. 10-3, 11-2. I mean, that's a moot point.
Yeah, I think I agree with you completely, Bahe. It's the body language more than anything else. And I think the players are really frustrated with how everything's been going and the slow starts. And I was just on my way home today, and Jordan Mailata was on the radio talking about their struggles and everything, and he actually said that a lot of players were taking ownership before the meetings. And Brian Johnson actually stood up in front of everybody and apologized for how he's been calling the games against San Fran and Dallas. And I mean, I think that's the biggest problem, especially with the offense. But, the defensively, I mean, we can't tackle, third downs. Like everybody, like every time we get into like a 3rd and long, we're playing so far off everybody. It's like, teams are just picking us apart. I mean, I think you're completely right, Bahe. Both these coordinators are just in over their heads, and I don't know. I think the book is out there on how to, beat the Eagles, but hopefully they can, put it together this week and change it around. I'm not out on the Eagles yet, like Armin, but they're definitely.
Is he 100% out?
He was out last week.
Listen, I started to be out when they were 10-1, guys. You can go back to that first pod, and I felt the same way. I don't feel as much, I guess, disdain for a coach as I like with Desai. From the games that I've seen I didn't see this week's games on the All 22, but the other ones I did. It seems like every coverage is a little bit different. There's a lot of the same there's same coverages with some wrinkles in it, and then they do different coverages. So he's really got these guys moving around. I listen, I'm beginning to think that this might be an issue with the way certain groups are being coached up. Like, I'm not talking about the whole defense. I'm talking about the linebacker group or maybe the defensive back group. So maybe the names of those special coordinators should be brought up as well. I mean, you got defensive backs that are constantly out of position. Blankenship has been out of position on plays. This is not his first rodeo as a starting safety. He played last year. He's not a rookie anymore, but he's making mental mistakes. There's more mental mistakes, I feel, in the back end. Jimbo, I don't know how you feel
What's
about any of
going
it.
on with Nolan Smith, too? Because Brandon Graham's playing an awful lot of snaps for his age.
He Nolan Smith's starting to get more playing time. I personally think that he needs to get stronger. I mean, I saw a couple wide receivers blocking him in the last few games when he's in. So, I mean, he needs to get stronger. He's fast, but he's not in the category of the edge rushers that they got right now. He's not. He needs another year or so, I think.
Yeah,
So,
it all comes down to coaching, especially, the defense. You're right, Armin. The guys are always out of position. But you look at the Giants defense, for example. They don't have the talent even as close as the Eagles do. When they have a lot more holes than us. But you know what? They're attacking differently. Like when they played Washington, I think they ended up with like 7 sacks on Sam Howell. Sam Howell tore the Eagles apart. Like he was throwing all over us. And it's just because we're too predictable. Like it's easy to see what we're in. We're not disguising anything. Like, I mean, it's just we're very predictable right now.
I think the Giants had 5 more sacks last night, too, I think.
yeah, and they beat Green Bay, and everybody thinks
Yeah.
we're beating them twice.
Yeah, it's tough to beat a team twice in 1 year, let alone twice in 3 weeks.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. I agree 100%. But tackling's an issue too. And I think a lot of that comes down to coaching still.
So I agree, it comes down to coaching. Like, so we know Dallas's offense has been on fire for the past 6 weeks. Why did the Eagles come up with some master plan? Let's just run the ball, pound the ball all night, keep Dak off the field. Like, we've just abandoned the run game 100%. And Swift has been one of our better players this year.
I think part of it's because they're getting down real quick in the game. So the Eagles feel like whoever's calling the plays is starting to feel like, well, we need to throw the ball right away and score as soon as possible. It's what I think part of the problem is. But here's another really big issue. Like, I know they had 3 costly fumbles in the red zone by the 3 star players. We know that, okay? But only 3 players on passing plays were targeted. 3. Smith,
Yeah.
Brown, Goddard. That's it.
Right.
Nobody else. Nothing out of the backfield. Nothing to Swift. Nothing to any of the other receivers. I'd watched some snippets of replays, and there were 2 plays in particular, and this may tie into what we heard. I don't know if you guys heard about what Derek Gunn said when he went in the locker room and talked to some of the players. There were 2 plays, not 1, 2, one on the right side, one on the left side, where in the one play, Brown he did like a quick out pattern, and Watkins was actually in his way, and it looked like he was supposed to clear out for Brown. Then on the other side, he was supposed to clear out for Smith, and it just seemed like he wasn't getting through for those guys to do their other pattern. So, and the tie into that, Derek Gunn said that he talked to an unnamed Eagle who said the problem is that plays are taking longer to develop. Mm-hmm. When Dallas is in there, it's like 1, 2, 3, bang. And they can make the connection. But you see the difference. I mean, Prescott was crisp. They're off it. A lot of that is not only the players, but it's coaching too. So are we going to blame Hurts totally? Are we going to blame Brown? I'll give you my opinion on those guys. I don't think Brown's playing at 100%, number one, because I've seen, when I've watched some of the all-22, I see plays where he has given up blocking downfield. That's number one. I don't think he completes some of his patterns. And I think some of the problem is he just has that, I don't know what you guys think, but he just seems like he's pissed. And is he mad at Hurts? Is he mad at the play calling? And then you got Hurts, it seems like he's mad at everybody. Maybe just the play calling. I don't know. But this team, like, I guess I'm talking more offensively right now. I see a lot of people that are pissed off, but pissed off for the wrong reasons.
Well, offensively, it's the same offense as last year, right? And they went to the Super Bowl. So what's different? I mean, they had Sanders. Now they have Swift.
DeAndre Swift. They got a better offense.
They never got exactly. So
better.
the only thing you can blame it on is the offensive coordinator, right? They have Shane Steichen, who's doing really well in what? He went to the Colts, right?
Right now he's got a top 5 offense. I mean, not top 5, top 10 offense with Gardner Minshew.
Right.
Exactly. So it goes back to Brian Johnson. That's basically it. And he's over his head. And maybe he got hired because his buddies with Jalen Hurts, this and that. But I mean, that's it. The guy is exposed big time. So unless they bring Frank Reich back or they make some changes, nothing's going to change. He can go and apologize like 10 times. What difference is going to make? The guy doesn't know how to do.
But Vahe, don't kid yourself. The Sirianni's fingerprints are all over this offensive game plan. I guarantee that the game plan is being devised by Sirianni. And then he gives it to Johnson, and Johnson has to figure out when to call these plays. So I was
going to ask the same question. When does Sirianni get some blame for some of this? Because
did you hear his press conference today? He comes right out and he says, I'm not going to take the play calling away from Brian Johnson. Why did he even have to say that? It's like he's implying, we know he's the problem. No, I think it's more than him. And as I said, previously, part of Sirianni's job is to coach the coaches up as well as the players. When Sirianni, like all these last 2 years, I personally think, this is my opinion of Sirianni. I think he's a motivator who thinks he's I'm trying to get the word right, a strategizer. I don't think he's a strategy guy. He's more of a motivator. I don't think he's the guy that can call a play in a heartbeat and change something right away, like some of these other guys do. So, but part of his job is coaching his coaches up as well as his players. So if there's problems with the coaches, that's on the head coach. He's got to take that responsibility. When things are great, he's a great coach. Now that there's a lot of adversity, let's just see how good of a coach he is. And as of right now, it doesn't seem like he's doing a very good job of that.
The most alarming thing to me was they weren't ready to play again. That falls right on the coaching.
Like, and they guaranteed that they were.
How are you not ready to play for that? How are you not ready to play that game on Sunday night?
Yeah. Hey, Will, what's wrong with your boy Sweat here? He hasn't had a sack in 6 weeks, and he's been getting beat. He's not even holding the edge a lot of times either. He's like in no man's land lately. I don't know what it is with him.
I mean, it's the whole defensive line. They're only rushing 4 guys. They're not doing anything special. They're just lining up, and I don't see the defense doing anything unique. I mean, he's not getting it done either.
Well, I mean, they had all those sacks with 4 down linemen last year. They didn't play a lot of 5 down.
Yeah, I mean, they just don't seem to have the depth either. You're seeing a lot of snaps from Fletcher Cox, and Brandon Graham's getting a lot more snaps, and they let Derek Barnett go. I mean, I don't see the depth there to give these guys rest, and I think the defense looks even more plain and unoriginal than it did with Jonathan Gannon, it sounds even worse coming out of my mouth that I just gave Jonathan Gannon any type of credit.
Maybe they'll start making linebacker a priority.
Maybe.
Yeah. It's funny. He comes here in 3 weeks, and if the Cardinals beat the Eagles, that's going to be a rough. Listen, that game worries me. They're very physical. I know they only have 3 wins, but they're very, very physical. And they got Murray back as quarterback, and he gave the Eagles fits a couple years ago. So I wouldn't, get on that bandwagon yet. But, I'm looking at this game and I'm saying, well, maybe they're going to play a lot better defensively against Dallas this game, because CeeDee Lamb had 191 yards, I think, and a couple touchdowns a few weeks ago. But they didn't have Bradley Roby in there. He's in there this week, and he got the same thing. I think that he also was like out of position quite a bit too. So, and I think they're getting to the point where they're trying anything they can. That's why if like they put that Keely, it was funny when Keely Ringo made that double penalty. I'm looking at the number. I'm saying, who the hell is 22? Like, I didn't know who it was. I had to look on the roster. Oh, that's Keely Ringo. Another thing, if they're hurting so much at D-back, this guy supposedly was a monster coming out of Georgia. How come, are they saying that he's not the guy either?
I did the same thing on that play. I wasn't sure who it was. I'm like, who was that? Was that Ringo? Thank God the announcer said who it was. So I was like, all right.
Yeah, first I thought it was what's his name, the old running back that the Eagles had, who's now coach. So I wasn't sure, but listen, this, they're like the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. I'll go back to what Sirianni said. I don't want to play my best football at the beginning of the season. You have to grow. We're climbing. Well, where are they? Like, they're falling. They're not climbing. They're falling down a ladder. And I know it's against the last 2 games that they lost to 2 of the best teams in the NFL, but they've been playing like this for weeks and weeks now. Weeks. Buffalo was terrible. Kansas City was not good. The first Dallas game was not good. The Jets, they were terrible. So, like, I just scratching my head. I just don't know what the issues are here, besides possibly coaching and having guys out of position.
Well, I mean, it goes back. I mean, also Jeffrey Lurie is responsible too, because I think this issue came before, and he doesn't like to hire expert or people with experience. He likes to hire young, up and coming people, and that's his trend. I mean, and then that's what you get. Instead of getting somebody who has experience, who has been fired from somewhere else as being head coach, but is a offensive guru, why don't you hire him? He's not going to overshadow anybody else, right? Or the defensive coordinator. Right now, the Dallas defensive coordinator is Dan Quinn, right? He used to be the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons.
Atlanta, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, why don't you hire somebody like that? Somebody who is with experience, and let them run the show instead of trying to find the diamond in the rough from somewhere that nobody heard of.
Yep. It's kind of like the same thing we were talking about last year. Like, you need a veteran in there for all these young coaches.
Yeah.
And he got lucky with Shane Steichen, and then the guy left. So what do you want me to do? I mean, the thing is that if he's really, really good, they're going to leave.
Yeah.
And then what?
Well, Well, Brian Johnson looks like he'll be a one and done guy.
For the wrong reason, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Vahe, I was me and Armin and Jimmy, we were at a wedding this weekend, and this guy came up to me and he said, "Oh, you must really dislike Vahe because you guys don't ever agree on anything." And I feel like I agree with you all the time. I think
Quick shout
Yeah.
out to Mr. Kenny, Mr. Ryan Kenny, for pointing that out at the wedding. He
I
said
think
you guys really hate each other.
I think you're spot on, Vahe. Like,
After his third bourbon and Coke, I think it was. So yeah.
why do we never hire anybody with experience? Like,
Yeah.
ever. It makes no sense.
Now, you've been mad at him ever since he came late on that podcast. And then the first podcast, and it automatically comes right on and says they're going to lose to Buffalo. So I knew it was going to be long, but seriously, let's get down to shits and giggles here. I really am very, like, I was concerned from the third game of the season that's it. Now I'm like at a point where I'm overly concerned to the point that I'm saying, I don't think this team is good enough right now. And by good enough, I'm not saying it's always just the players. I think it's the entire organization. There is a major concern here. And like, they've been winning games through mirrors. And that may just stop all of a sudden. And they may lose the Seattle game. They may lose one of the Giants games. They may lose the Arizona game. I just feel like they need to turn it around immediately. Before, well, I'll tell you what. Let's go to this week's game with Seattle. Vahe, do you know what the line is and what's it
Yeah,
telling you?
I do. Ironically, they're favored by 3.5 points. Believe it or not. And Dallas is the underdog in Buffalo by 2.5 points.
That game's at Buffalo, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
game is in Buffalo. So
Yeah.
they're underdog in Buffalo, 2.5 points. The Eagles, it's favored by 3.5 points in Seattle. I can't believe that. I can't believe that shit.
Maybe
I just think the Eagles have really played the hardest, part of their schedule, and now the games are going to start getting easier. And I still think talent in this league wins over everything. And I think the Eagles are just more talented than the Seahawks, and I think they get back on track this week.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, at the beginning, Armand was saying the same thing. It's not the record; it's the way they're playing. And if the games were competitive, they say, okay, fine, it was a tough game. But it wasn't even competitive. They were like out of it. They could have sent everybody by the third quarter. And
It was over at halftime.
yeah, I mean, so whether they had a tough schedule or easy schedule or whatever, they're not really playing well. So what difference is going to make?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, 2 weeks ago, Geno Smith was slicing and dicing the Cowboys.
Hurt,
A couple
though.
of weeks ago.
He's hurt.
Yeah, but right now he's questionable for the game. So just questionable, but they got Drew Lock as their backup, who was the starting quarterback in this league. Either quarterback is capable of doing a lot of damage to the Eagles defense.
You know what really pissed me off the most? For all the trash that San Francisco was talking all year long, right? They come in here and they did everything they wanted to do, and the Eagles they didn't do nothing. Like, can you imagine somebody disrespects you every day and you don't do anything about it?
And they come into your own house and disrespect
your
you.
house, disrespects your house.
They came right to your house. They came right to your house to do it. You know, it would be wonderful if the Eagles could somehow turn this thing around and get the Niners in the playoffs and play it at San Francisco and turn the tables on them. There would be nothing better than that could happen. So
I think if that happened, the Eagles would have that extra motivation going into that game that the 49ers had coming into 2 weeks ago's game. I mean, the 49ers were fired up from last year. They had this circled since April or May, whenever they released the schedule.
That was their Super Bowl.
They put a whooping on the Eagles. So hopefully the Eagles remember that. And if they do see them later on down the line, that'll get them fired up that much more for that game.
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't know. Like, I still think the Eagles are going to win the division, even if they lose to Seattle, but I'm not sold on anything. I have no confidence with them in the playoffs. I have no confidence that they're going to go to the NFC Championship or go to the Super Bowl.
Some people are saying it's better off with the second seed, because with second seed they get either Atlanta or I don't know,
Detroit.
Detroit,
or Green Bay.
Yeah, you would get Detroit in this. Yeah, you get Detroit in the second round if you win it, and you would avoid Dallas.
Yeah,
and then San Francisco.
Right, like Dallas and the 49ers beat one another up.
That's going to be a major showdown. So maybe they're better off with the second seed. Who knows?
Right. Yeah, I agree, because that game, the 1 and 5 seed or whatever it would be, that's going to take a lot out of both those teams.
Yeah.
And then you should, if it is the Lions, I mean, there's always upsets in the playoffs, so you never know. But I think they would rather play the Lions than Dallas.
Yeah, but I think right now the Eagles just have to be concerned about themselves and what they can control, and not worry about what any other team is doing. And because right now there's just no motivation in their game whatsoever. I think that Jalen Carter is hitting the rookie wall. What is Jordan Davis done in the last couple of weeks?
Jordan Davis was hitting at the wall, not Jalen Carter.
I think Carter's hitting the wall a little bit too. And obviously we're talking about Sweat. I mean, the D line's also nothing like they were last year. and they got the same defensive line except for Hargrave, who's in San Francisco right now. They got everybody else. And I think there's going to be a major turnover in this position group too. I don't think Graham's going to be here next year. I know there's talk about bringing Adamik Sue back. I think that would help if they brought him back for like this playoff run.
How about
Because
Slay?
they're not stopping the run. They're
How
not
about
stopping the run.
Slay and Bradbury? How about those two guys? They look like
I think Bradbury's going to be gone this
I
year.
think
Even though
Bradbury looks like he's done.
yeah, I think even though he's got a 2-year deal, I see this being a one and done here after they made that deal. Slay could play another year, I think.
think so?
But
He's
yeah, I
getting big
think,
too.
boy, for them to get rid of both of them and then just grab 2 more, that's almost like you're totally rebuilding. And I don't know if that's going to be, smart. But I mean, the big thing is you need to coach these guys up, and I think that's part of the problem. They were talking on one of the podcasts. I can't remember. This is another example of a guy being out of position. Bradley Roby was playing, I think, CeeDee Lamb, who was a slot receiver, on his inside, and he actually beats him to the sideline with an inside move as he's playing him inside. Instead of letting him go, I think if he let him go the other way, he had if he would have had Blankenship in back of him because they had him bracketed, but he just lost the coverage completely. So I think listen, I'm going to go back to coaching, and I think that's a big part of it. Remember that guy, Denard Wilson? He was a guy he played for the Eagles, I think he did, or the Jets, and he was their defensive back coach, and he was up for he wanted to be the defensive coordinator. He didn't get the job, and then the Eagles let him go, and now he's with, I think it's the Ravens, and he's doing a really good job with the Ravens. Maybe like this is why I think coaching sometimes is so important, and I think that they're just running themselves in circles a little bit,
I agree. I mean, right now, neither one of them they're doing their job.
Yeah.
Shy, or I mean, somebody was saying that he's a student of what? Vigiano, what was the guy's name? The guy went to Miami. Vizio, right?
Yeah. Oh, Fangio.
Fangio.
Right? Well, he's doing well with they have a good defense. Miami
They're struggling. They're struggling a little bit too, Miami, but nothing like the Eagles. The Eagles right now, it's amazing. They're 10-3. They are dead last in defense, like total defense. They are last by a long shot in third down defense. I think it's 71%. 71% of the time, the other team gets a first down if it's third down, whatever the down and distance is. But on third downs, it's 71% that the other team will get a first down. That is mind-boggling. That is last place team numbers, and they're 10-3.
And I think they're -4 in the turnover margin too. And they're still 10-3.
Yeah. Well, that's what's hurting Hurts right now. He's got I think he's got already double the turnovers that he had all last year. And
is it like 7 or 8 fumbles he has?
Yeah, I think he's only thrown for like 10 touchdowns, and he's got about 8 turnovers himself. It's not great.
Yeah. And I think the only thing he's been good at is his comebacks at the end of the game. He's had, I think, 3 of them. He had 3 in a row there. But no, he struggled too. I think there's dissension going on with this team.
I agree with you.
Don't you think so?
I think so, 100%. And AJ Brown could be one of those guys.
Yeah. Hey, Jimmy, the Hurts.
He strikes me as like a me guy. Like I know AJ Brown is a great player, but he strikes me as like a me guy, a stat guy. He's happy if he's getting the balls thrown to him, but like, the second he doesn't, he goes the other way. That's just my opinion. Like he's a great player, but he just comes off as like a me guy.
Hey, Jimmy, what's the Hurts Brown drama remind you of?
My boy T.O. and McNabb.
Exactly.
Yep. I remember that.
Except that McNabb was a total diva. So
Now it was a baby.
yeah, he was. But that's what this is reminding me of. And I think, but as I was saying before, Jim, I don't know if you were on before when I said this. When I was watching some of the game replays, Brown's not like holding his block all the way to the end. I don't think he does the complete pattern like that one the one that he dropped. It looked like he wasn't even ready for that pass.
Oh, that could have been a big difference maker too. I'm going to break through his hands.
Absolutely.
It was third down too, I believe, right?
And not to mention the one that he fumbled in the red zone. He's been a problem too. I think he thought that he was going to be getting 125 yards a game for the rest of the season. And as soon as it started not happening, he just started to I think we got egos on this team. I think that's the problem. We got egos. We lack physicality. We're missing tackles. I think the coaches I think this team needs a complete reset. Complete, unfortunately it starts at the very top, and that's where Sirianni really needs to start to take charge here. And I'm really questioning his ability to be able to do that. I think he's a great coach when things are great. Let's see how good he is when there's this serious adversity that the team is suffering through right now.
I thought he was going to come out today and going to tell us a story about replanting flowers and
no, but he hasn't been talking any.
Dude.
Yeah, but he hasn't been saying anything more about that they're climbing. We're climbing. We don't want to play a complete game yet. To me, that was the most ridiculous thing you could say. You want to play the best game that you could play. Like this climbing stuff. I don't know. But, listen, I could be dead wrong. And these are just a little blip on their schedule. But I'm telling you, I saw this back when they were 10-1. They were not a 10 to me. They were not even close to being a 10-1 team. They were the luckiest 10-1 team that I've seen. And many of those games that they won, I just came away from the game still pissed. Like I was wanting more. Like you guys had to feel the same way. You wanted more, but they won. They barely won.
Everybody
I was
was
impressed that they came back and won those games. But
hoping that somehow they're going to get their act together, and they didn't. They just fell apart. That's basically what happened.
Yeah.
Everybody.
No, I'm with you 100%. Why don't we go with predictions now? Vahe, you want to start us off?
Do I start? I don't know. Maybe Wilt should go first because I don't want to.
Maybe Will should go first.
Well, I'm predicting for the rest of the season the Eagles win by double digits.
I got a crack pipe at the office that's sitting in the ceiling. So go ahead. I want to hear this one.
I'll say the Eagles win this week 34-21.
Wow.
I'll go next. I say they lose 27-24.
He's out, Jim. He's out.
I was going to say they're going to lose 28-24. I just think it's a tough. They don't play well in Seattle. Seattle really needs this game if they want to make the playoffs.
Big time.
Seattle's 6-7. I think they just lost 2 in a row to Dallas and the 49ers, and they were in both those games. I know the 49ers won by 13 points, whatever it was, but the Seahawks were in that game up until like the beginning of the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I just think Seattle needs it more, and Eagles are going cross country. I think they lose 28-24, but I still like them to win the division. I do. But I am a little more concerned about the second Giant game than I was a week ago.
Wow.
It's just, I think it's tough. I think it's tough to beat the same team twice in 1 year, let alone 3 weeks or 2 weeks.
And
It's a
that
2 weeks.
second game's at the Meadowlands
And
too.
it's at the Meadowlands.
And they
like,
and they could be spoilers in that game too.
right.
if
I
that's
mean, the
game
Giants,
for-
you always see teams playing at the end of the year, they're playing for nothing. They're just playing for pride.
they're playing
Nothing
for
to
jobs.
lose. And
Yeah.
All right. Let's hear from the voice of reason.
For
Come on,
some reason.
Vahe.
sorry, Will.
Well, actually, and I'm going to give them benefit of the doubt. I think the Eagles, they're going to win maybe 24-20. What did you say? Oh, you know, you were at the 24-17, and Dallas going to lose in Buffalo.
Wow.
They're going to Buffalo. They're going to lose because the thing is that for them, they were all hyped about the Eagles and go to Buffalo. They're going to have their ass kicked. That I'm more sure about that with the Eagles winning their game, but I'm going with the Eagles.
I could definitely
parlay
see
right now.
Dallas losing. Right. I could definitely. I mean, Dallas has been looking forward to that game. They won that game. They're going into Buffalo. Who knows what the weather is going to be like? And
Yeah.
Buffalo, they're playing for their playoff lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's say this about Seattle. The last 2 games they played Dallas, San Francisco, right? They could have won both of those games, and they played so good in both of them. Now they come home, they're going to be fired up. So, you talk about a team that has a murderer's row for a schedule, like in the middle of the season, it's them, with these 3 powerhouse teams that they're playing right now. So,
That's how I was
and
looking
they-
at. And they only
yeah.
have 2 home games. Well, they only have 2 home games left. I think they play the Eagles and then the Steelers later on in the year. Then the rest of their games are on the road. So they really need this game if they want to make the playoffs.
Now, Geno Smith went into the game against before they played San Francisco. He was questionable. He was on the field, and then they realized that he couldn't go. There's a chance he's playing this week, and I'll tell you, he's really come on. He's a good quarterback now, with a lot of experience in this league. So I wouldn't sell him short at all. And they've got. Boy, I'll tell you, they got some Metcalf and that guy that they just got, Nigba, I think, from Ohio State. They got 2 quality wide receivers right now. So let's not look past them. I think this is going to be a rough. I think if the Eagles beat Dallas, this could have been a real trap game for the Eagles. This game is the one that I had marked in the schedule that I thought could be a really tough game for them to win. So, and since they're playing so bad right now, and they could even lose by more than what I predicted.
And Dallas has to play Miami right after Buffalo in Miami. So
Yeah, who just beat Miami?
The Titans. So the Dolphins need
Oh.
that game even more.
Yeah, they do.
And then they got Tyreek Hill's hurt now. Nobody knows what's going on with him. And
Well,
I need
that's
him.
why they lost to the Titans.
It's playoffs and fantasy. I need him. Will, he's on my
Yeah.
team. He cost me the
He's,
bye.
he's on my team too. I know.
He cost me the bye last night. If I would have won, I would have got the bye, and I lost by 6 points because he only played half the game.
I missed the playoffs in Dan's league because he got hurt.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Now,
Yeah.
as we're talking, I'm looking at the line. So FanDuel has it -3.5 for the Eagles. MGM has -4. What is the other one? DraftKings has -4. Bet Casino has -4. So most of the lines are -4, believe it or not. Eagles -4 in Seattle. That means it's 7 points if it wasn't Philadelphia. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Yeah.
No.
And the
I don't.
Bills are -2.5 against the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. So, all right. Any last minute things before we wrap this up?
I think, Armand, you should be the offensive coordinator for the Eagles. That's right. If I turn into Howie or Lori, I'm going to say, guys, forget it. My neighbor, Armand, he should be offensive.
You know what
in this look they have.
I was very concerned about this when that was the first, getting a guy on a podcast on a train. You went to DC. Were you down there to meet Rivera or the new coach or the new owner down there?
Yes, I was meeting with Magic Johnson, and He said, "Can you move to DC?" I said, "No, I'm a Philly guy. I'm an Eagles guy. No
No, he
way."
probably said, "No, I can't leave my neighbors. They're great people." So, so all right, let's wrap this up. Another one in the books. Flying high with the birds. Philadelphia Eagles talk. See ya.
See you guys.
All right, guys.
See you
Hey,
guys.
guys.
Yeah.